Hey guys, we're the Wet Rats. My name is David.
I'm Dylan.
And today we're going to be talking about Metal Gear Solid 5. I'm just going to point this out real quick because it's bugging the hell out of me. That's crooked. We know. Sorry. So we wanted to do a spoiler talk about Metal Gear Solid 5. I want to emphasize spoiler.
Yeah.
This is going to be... We're going to spoil fucking everything in the story. If you do not want that stuff spoiled, or have not seen it yet, do not watch this. I'm not talking about gameplay, story, and not just like the end, the end of Mission 31. I mean, everything that would come after that too, all of the additional missions. So if you haven't completed like to Mission 50, or at least the stuff relevant to that point, to like 46, I guess, don't watch this. If you don't know us, hey, what's up? We're the Wet Rats. We do dumb comedy videos. We actually did a Metal Gear Solid analysis video that was a complete bullshit joke. This is going to be not a joke. We're actually going to talk about it. We both have, played the game. We both have seen all the story, so we just wanted to talk about it. See if anybody wanted to also talk about it. So if you let us know what you think about the game or what we talk about down in the comments or whatever.
Also, we're not like saying anything we say is like we're the authority figures on.
Right. We love if you don't know us, we make videos, by make videos I mean we don't really have people that watch us, so we're not like even like a major YouTube channel. No. You can probably tell that already by the crooked poster. But we just wanted to talk about the game. We like the game. Maybe if you follow our channel before, maybe you've seen we do like analysis kind of stuff about Evangelion, which is an anime for you who aren't in the know. Also about robots.
Yeah.
Coincidence? No. Metal Gear. Robots. And also, there's a part where a father forces his kid to pilot it. Remember when that happened to Metal Gear Solid 5?
Oh, shit.
Hal forced, Huey forced Hal into the cockpit.
Yep. And
then the mom mysteriously died inside the machine.
Uh-oh.
Coincidence?
Nope.
That means nothing to anybody who hasn't seen Evangelion.
And
we just spoiled Evangelion. Sorry about that. But you had 20 years to watch it, so
Hal becomes known as a Otacon?
Well, he used to be an anime otaku.
Yeah.
Anyways, so just to clarify, we're not really going to talk a ton about gameplay. We might cover a little bit. I think, you guys have played the game, I'm sure. You've heard about the gameplay. What's there to say? It's great. It's fucking great. The gameplay is awesome.
I yell a lot.
Yeah, I definitely get frustrated at the game a lot. But it's fucking real fun.
Yeah.
I've heard people say that this is the best Metal Gear Solid gameplay, and I would probably agree with that. I've been a huge fan of the Metal Gear Solid games for a long time now. But some of the older ones are hard to go back and play. But yeah, gameplay's fun. You know that. Let's talk about story. And just for the record, so we've both seen all the story again, but we haven't really talked about it yet. We traded some comments as we were seeing all the stuff, but we wanted to save our discussion about it until now. So this is going to be pretty fresh. Dylan, what do you think of the story of Metal Gear Solid 5?
It wasn't quite what I was expecting. Not necessarily in a bad way. But I definitely feel like the first part doesn't feel as urgent or epic as the second part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like all that kind of major stuff seems to kind of happen in the second act more than the first.
Right. I think it wasn't what I expected, and necessarily in a bad way.
Yeah, not necessarily in a bad way.
No, necessarily, definitely in a bad way. I think in a bad way. I think I was very disappointed with the story. Incredibly disappointed, actually. Which is too bad. Because this is the last Metal Gear story that we're going to do. Official, sorry.
I think if it was just another game, it would have been okay.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what I kind of felt too. I felt like nothing felt epic enough to where it's like, this is what you're ending it with,
Right. I guess you're talking about the first half, the first chapter, Vengeance. Doesn't feel urgent enough. I totally agree. The whole point of Kojima selling this game was that it was going to be about getting vengeance, getting revenge. Yeah. Skullface fucked up Mother Base in Ground Zeroes, and now you're going after him. It's in the 80s. It's 80s movie style, revenge, 80s soundtrack. Fuck yes. That's everything I like. Like, period. 80s movies about revenge. And that's not what happens.
No, not really.
I guess you could play through the story quickly to get that stuff, but I didn't feel like I needed to kill Skullface. I never was like, fuck that guy. Like, I know he destroyed Mother Base, but...
That's what I was really disappointed too, is I was really excited for Skullface because I thought he looked really cool. I
Yeah.
thought the voice actor they have for him is awesome. I think there have been so many cool things with Skullface. And you probably can see 90% of what Skullface is in that game and just watching all of the trailers they have.
Yeah, the trailers
That's
made
pretty
him
much
seem
it.
cool because it's like, I've lost my language, my home, whatever. Oh,
Yeah.
cool. That speech in that trailer is his entire backstory that's directly taken from the game
Yep.
in about a 2-minute car ride. And also, aside from that backstory, in that car ride when you're with Skullface and you're right before he dies and you fight Salanthropus, I don't understand what his goal was. I have no idea. He wanted to kill the English language. Metal Gear's always had some goofier plots. In number
Yeah.
2, the Patriots wanted to control the internet. It's silly, but like, it always worked. But he wants to kill language, and he's got a parasite
like-
that kills language.
I feel like the thing that Kojima was trying to go for here was the whole ethnic cleansing thing and doing it with language.
Yes.
Which at first I thought was kind of lame, but I guess they did make it seem threatening on a while when they're just like, anybody who speaks this language here, they're kind of whatever. But as far as like plot kind of things, I was like, oh, that's, I don't know, I was expecting something big and brutal and like vengeful. It's like,
Yeah.
that doesn't seem like it really.
No, not at all. And I felt like, Skullface
It's
could have
also
been a
like,
better villain.
what did
for
you
sure.
have Salanthropus, whatever it's called,
Salanthropus.
Salanthropus
Yeah.
for? 'Cause
Also,
you just-
shitty name.
Yeah.
Rex, awesome. Ray, awesome name. Zeke, not the best, but short and sweet, whatever. What the fuck, Salanthropus? What is that shit? That's worse than Shagohod.
It means. I forgot
Yeah,
what
I
it's-
know. I know. There's a reason they picked it, but I don't fucking care.
But it's just like, why did you? I don't know. It's just you had that. You didn't really need the language thing either. It's like they threw two different things. It's like
Yeah,
we're gonna release this strand, so no one can attack us. We also have this big badass fucking mech.
yeah. It
Just
just
like,
it
what
didn't
do
make sense to do both.
No.
I think it was meant to show like, well, Skullface is such a good villain. He's got two things going on, but one of them didn't really make a lot of sense.
And Skullface, in my one of the criticisms I have is I don't think Skullface is in the game enough, to where you feel
No.
like you really want to take him down because you
Yeah.
only see him for a little bit in Ground Zeroes, and you don't see him much more in Phantom Pain. You maybe only have a handful of cutscenes where you see Skullface.
Yeah, Metal Gear Solid series is known for having outstanding villains.
Yeah.
Whether they're villains that are just caught on the wrong side and they're actually not that bad, or whether they're like pure evil, they have such fucking good, memorable villains. And Skullface is the major one of this game,
Yeah.
and he's boring. He's just boring. Like, you don't
Well, I think
see him
it's-
that much. When you do see him, it's kind of cool, but like it's not enough. You don't really care to kill him.
That's what I was
and,
saying is like listening to. I think the problem is, and I'm sure they have it sometime in codec stuff, but I feel like too much of his story relies on finding tapes of it. Because I listened to some of the tapes with him, and he's pretty cool. Like, he did some really cool stuff.
Right.
There's like a torture scene where I kind of esque thing where he has a code talker, where he's just like he knows he can't torture code talker, so he tells him he has a soldier outside, and he brings in a bell, and he says that soldier has a walkie-talkie to a room full of Navajos, and he has some sort of strand.
This mine or yours?
I think it's mine. No, yeah, that's yours. Because mine's over here. And like every time he doesn't give him what he wants, he's gonna ring the bell, and they'll infect him with the English strand, so they can no longer. So if they ever speak anything but Navajo,
Oh,
die. And then he goes through it. Then he opens the door, and there never was a soldier all along.
Right.
So it's like okay, cool. That's some pretty fucked up like James Bond villain type stuff.
yeah.
But you only
that's cool.
see that through tapes.
Yeah.
Which is like I don't want to get all my information from him from a tape.
And I know some people could say like, well, an older Metal Gear game has got a lot of story in the codec.
That's what I'm
That's
saying, yeah.
true, but the thing with the codec was, though it wasn't the best way to deliver story at the time, they kind of had to do it because they couldn't have cutscenes for everything they wanted to do. But the reason it worked is because most of the codecs, there were optional ones, but the important ones weren't optional.
Yeah.
I mean, you could skip them, I guess, but you can skip anything. But like, you had to watch and listen to them. So like in number 1, when you find out that Liquid was posing as Miller the whole time.
Right.
That's in a, like you have to listen to that.
Mhm.
That's not just like one of the optional calls where it's like, oh, Snake, Big Boss, have you ever seen James Bond?
Yeah.
It's not an optional bullshit call. Like, they were, and in this game they are. The codecs are all optional, or
Yeah.
the cassette tapes are all optional. And I
Like,
don't think
sure,
that works.
Sure, they highlight them yellow, but you don't have to go listen to them ever.
Yeah,
That's
you know what
what
it kind of
box-
reminds me of?
Huh.
It's not as bad because they are in the game and you can go listen to them, but it kind of reminds me of Grimoire cards.
Yeah.
Like,
It's very
hey, there's a
much
really
like
cool
Grimoire
story here, but we're not going to tell you it. But if you want to go online and read it, sure, go ahead.
Yeah, that's Destiny. If you guys are,
Yeah, that was how Destiny worked. And again, this is a little bit better because they are in the game. You don't have to go online, and they're voice acted.
yeah,
And the voice acting's great.
Super great.
I do have a bone to pick about voice acting in a minute. People can probably guess what it is. But, you know, at least they're well voice acted and stuff. But it's just not the best way to deliver
it's not the best way to deliver, especially because
yeah.
you, from all the trailers and everything you've done, made this seem like it's going to be such a cinematic game.
Yeah,
but there's not
all
that
the
many
fucking
cutscenes.
cinematics are in the goddamn trailers.
You could literally watch all the after you beat the game. You can go watch all the trailers and be like, you get all the full story just from the trailers.
And you could argue some of that isn't in context, so it doesn't mean
exactly. That's what I said.
But
like,
to know that stuff is coming, it reminds me of you hadn't done the last cutscene with Quiet yet, and I asked you like, you know, hey, this is the last cutscene you have to see in the game because you'd already seen the Truth one. What do you think it could be? And you're like, well, obviously it's gonna be the one with Quiet because I already saw a preview of it. And it's like, yeah, that fucking ruins it because like. Yeah, you don't know the context, you don't know what's going to happen with Quiet, but it was always great not knowing where the story was going to go. And now you know, like, well, obviously it's going to be the ending of Quiet's story.
Yep.
Oh, well, that kind of takes the fun out of unlocking that cutscene.
Exactly, because like you're expecting the same thing with like the burning of the bodies and him putting like the ash on space.
Yeah, that's
I knew
all.
some other stuff had to be coming because after I hit the credits of Chapter 1, I was like, I didn't see any of those things.
Yeah.
So.
Or Liquid jumping into Philanthropist. Sorry, Eli, not confirmed to be Liquid in this game.
Speaking of cutscenes that you see in trailers, I thought of this one the other day. Is there actually a cutscene where it shows the African child soldiers being taught how to shoot? Because I don't remember seeing that in the game ever. But that's in the trailers.
I don't think so. Maybe it was an optional one. There are a couple. Sorry, there was a black screen there for a minute. Sorry about that. Our thing stopped. There are some optional cutscenes which are weird. Man, there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot of bones to pick. I don't know if we'll get through it all. I will just say real quick, I was worried when I was really disappointed with the story because sometimes I have that thing where I don't want to hate something, but I end up hating it, and then I'm like the only one, and I'm like, fuck, now everyone's going to say this is so good, I'm going to be the crazy one. I've seen a lot of people complaining about the story.
Right.
So we're definitely not the only ones. I was on the subreddit last night, the Metal Gear Solid subreddit, and man, a lot of people don't like the story. So we're not crazy.
It seemed like a lot of build-up for not a lot of payoff. You know?
Yeah, and here's we're kind of going all over the place here because we're jumping around, but here's kind of the problem with it. This is a prequel, so we know where the story's going to go, which is fine. Snake Eater was a prequel, and I think personally it's the best story. You know, you could argue any of them are the best story, pretty much. But just personally, that's my favorite story. But even if that's not your favorite audience, I'm sure you can agree that it's a fucking awesome prequel. You know, because it takes the things you knew had happened in the past and it introduces a ton of things you didn't know had happened. You kind of knew who Big Boss was from Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2, and you know they talk about him in Metal Gear Solid and all that. You kind of knew about him, but they showed you this whole new side of him. Kojima proved with that game that he can do a prequel that plays with your expectations. Because the problem with prequels is you know everything that's going to happen because you already know the part 2. So to go back and read chapter 1 is like, whatever. The problem with this game is it tried to stray way too far from the storyline. You know, maybe it would have been boring if it would have just simply put everybody into the places they were going to be for the next game. I know a lot of people have been saying, like, I just wanted this to end up right at the beginning of Metal Gear.
Exactly.
And I kind of agree with that, but at the same time, that kind of would have been boring because it would have just been giving you everything you knew happened. It would have been, you already knew the whole story of how Big Boss got to this. So there needed to be some surprises. There needed to be some things that were like, whoa, I didn't know Big Boss did that. Or I didn't know this character was around. Or Otacon's dad is here. You know, it was good to have, I know that was a Peace Walker, but I'm just giving it, as an example. It's good to have some surprises in a prequel. The problem with this is, it's all surprises that mean nothing, and none of the things that really lead into the future properly. Like, you could argue like it does show that Operation Intrude in 313 or whatever, it shows kind of into that a little bit, and that's Phantom Boss or whatever. Right. We can talk about the twist ending in a minute too. That's a whole other thing. But I felt like I wanted to see how the Patriots got formed, and I know that's kind of already happened. I don't know why they're called Cypher, or if Cypher is a different organization. I don't know. What's the
That's
deal
the thing
with
I was
that?
going to ask you too. So, I guess now we can go into the Phantom Boss thing because that's going to lead to what I was going to say.
Sure.
So, as you already know now, that the person you play as is not Big Boss, it's Phantom Boss, which is weird, remember?
Yeah.
I feel like that made Big Boss seem like less of a cool character. Because
yes, a lot of people have said that.
It's not him doing anything. Big Boss just goes away.
Yeah. Hang on. Let's talk about Big Boss's character in just a second. I just wanted to finish this thought real quick. I don't understand the whole like Cypher and Patriot thing, and I wanted to see. I know that the Patriots technically were formed in the 70s. They're already technically a thing. I don't know why they're called Cypher, but I wanted to see Sigint as the DARPA chief, and I wanted to see Dr. Clark maybe working on Gray Fox, or not yet, because I guess that's later, but like, maybe doing something. I wanted to see some of that stuff forming. I wanted to fucking see Zero in this game.
Yeah.
Zero is like the villain of the Metal Gear Solid series. He created the Patriots, which are the ultimate evil. And yeah, you could argue, well, Zero's wishes were actually taken over by the AI. Okay, sure. But he started that. He's the villain.
Yeah.
And he's not in... Yeah, you could argue, well, he's in the cassette tapes. Sure, but he's not the villain of the game.
No.
Which would be fine if the villain of the game was great. But I wanted to see Zero.
But literally, even the villain of the game wants to take vengeance on Zero. And Zero's not the game.
Yeah,
He's
there's
the
a whole thing
common
about,
villain.
like, Zero is evil, we gotta take him down. Why?
Yeah.
Why is Zero evil? We've never seen that. Peace Walker didn't go into that. He's mentioned for, like, 2 seconds. This did not go into that. I mean, maybe there's a cassette tape that we didn't listen to where it really talks about why Zero is such a bad guy. But Snake Eater, he was a hero. He was Snake's commander and, like, one of his best friends. They talk about in 4 that, like, they were fucking tight. They were, like, best buddies. And this, this whole war, the Patriots and Outer Heaven and all that was started because of the boss's will being misinterpreted and these two friends split ways. But we never saw that happen.
Right.
And that would be okay if maybe we understood in retrospect why. I don't know why Zero's a bad guy. I don't know why everybody hates Zero. And everyone out there might say, well, if you listen to this audio cassette tape, sure, but like I wanted to see that. I wanted to see Big Boss face off against Zero or have an argument or something. I didn't get any
Well,
of
that's what I was going to say too with like the whole fan thing. What did Big Boss go to do? It's like something I
right, yeah, so let's get into Big Boss's character.
Because I don't know what did he... I mean, it's not like he's going to go form something, but I don't...
Right, well that's... You never played Metal Gear and Metal Gear 2, so you're at a little bit of a disadvantage. So, in the original Metal Gear, you do Operation Intrude in 313, I think is what it's called. And that's where... Now we know Snake kills Phantom Boss.
Right.
And that... So, according to this game, this is supposed to be the story of Big Boss becoming a villain, which I was fucking excited to see.
Right.
It's not.
It's not.
That's not what this game is. So what it's actually supposed to be, now that we know that this is not Big Boss, it's supposed to be about the fandom of Big Boss becoming a villain, but I don't even really feel like it's that. I didn't feel like he was a villain by the end of the game.
It felt like a way that they explained how he died in the first 2 games.
Yeah, that's what
and
people
then
are
back
like,
in the
well,
last
at
one.
least now we have that plot. How did he die twice? What do you mean? But he's still alive at the end of 4 and he died at 2. If he could come alive once, I'm willing to bet that he'd done it again. I mean, and he was in a coma for 9 years. Big Boss's whole fucking life is dying and coming back to life. Yeah. That's his whole deal. That's like his thing.
Yeah.
So I didn't need an explanation for one of those times. I get it. He'd come back. Everybody comes back. Gray Fox came back.
But even
fucking Liquid kind of came back in a possessed arm, but not really. Everybody fucking comes back in the Metal Gear series in some way. Like, but you're always going to have somebody come back.
It's like Dragon Ball Z. Anytime someone dies, they don't really die.
Yeah.
But even like him be like, I'm gonna go form my own nation where like that. 1 and 2, that's still Phantom Boss. Phantom Boss did it, not Big Boss.
Well, okay, so Phantom Boss started whatever the Outer Heaven that was in the first Metal Gear game. The real Big Boss would just form Zanzibar Land or whatever.
Okay.
It's been I haven't played Metal Gear 2 in a long time, but basically he formed this entire militant nation, not just like an offshore base and a research facility. He filmed it. He started an entire nation.
That gets taken down.
But that's what happened. I still don't understand why he didn't do both or why he had to go do that. Because the way they make it seem is like you keep them busy while Big Boss does the important stuff. But forming that nation wasn't important in the grand scheme of things. Maybe it was meant to be, and Solid Snake foiled it. But like, it just doesn't make sense. And
not something as big as like what Zero did with all the Cypher and the Patriots. And that's way bigger than that.
Yeah.
It'd have been crazy if you found something enough that like Snake or Big Boss had something just as big or did something bigger than that too. Which they didn't give that. There's no really payoff to that. It being no Phantom Boss.
Yeah, and if Phantom Boss is the one that spiraled into madness and became a villain, supposedly, why did Solid Snake need to kill Big Boss in Metal Gear 2? Did they both spiral and become villains? Or were they already villains when they implanted the personality into the medic? I don't fucking... Like, that's the problem with this, is supposed to be... When Metal Gear Solid 4 came out, which is the last game chronologically in the series, not counting Metal Gear Rising, it asked a lot of questions, but it fucking answered everything. Yeah. It was just payoff. Here's all the answers you wanted. Here's what the Patriots were. Here's who they are. Here's how they were formed. Here's what's going on with Liquid and Ocelot. Like, it was everything.
Yeah.
And this is a prequel, so it shouldn't ask questions it doesn't answer. It should fill in all of the blanks. Maybe it introduces some new things that you didn't know were going to happen in a prequel, which is great, but it doesn't like leave you not understanding what happened. I don't understand anything. Why is Ocelot with these guys?
Yeah, I even listened to the Truth cassette tapes, and I was like, oh, secret conversation between Zero and Ocelot. That'll explain it. Didn't explain it.
Yeah, I mean, because you asked me like, because you play Peace Walker, you asked me like, was there something in Peace Walker about Ocelot? No, there's not. So how I know that Ocelot's in 3, obviously, and he looked up to Big Boss, idolized him. I get that. They talked about that in 4, but how did he go from that to now they're bros hanging out and he's protecting his body? And you could say like, well, in one of the cassette tapes it says Zero asked him to do that. Sure, but like,
Boss was in a coma when he asked him that, so Boss wakes up from a coma, there's Ocelot.
yeah, and he's just like, oh hey, my
what's
best
up?
friend. I remember when you fucked up the wig at the end of Snake Eater. Thanks
Yeah.
for that. I guess now we're going to run a fucking nation together. What?
Yep. I mean, at least they explain Kaz and Ocelot connecting with each other, but I really don't care about that. Because
Yeah.
we're caring about how Ocelot got back with Boss, and how Boss was just like, oh yeah, here's the plan now.
Yep. I don't know, I just feel like I don't understand how
Also,
things
I don't-
happened, and that
They, like,
bothers me.
Off mention in other states too that this is so confusing because there's literally a conversation between Kaz and Ocelot where they're like, we're going to play along with this and play our parts the whole time.
Yeah.
But then when cassette tapes, Ocelot tells Big Boss he's going to hypnotize himself, just like they did in the 4 and stuff like that,
Uh-huh.
into thinking that the guy really is the real boss.
Yeah.
So why did you say you're going to act to play a part? You're not acting to play a part. You're hypnotizing yourself. Like you're not aware you're playing a part at all.
Yeah.
And it makes me wonder too. Did they do the same? Did Kaz do the same thing too to make him think he is Big Boss or not?
I don't know. I don't understand. I don't understand.
They just put too many
anything.
holes in there.
And Liquid's in the game for no reason. Oh,
Really
hey,
no
I
reason.
got something to tell you.
Uh-huh.
So, Dylan, I believe, has not been made aware of this. The internet, you guys know this. Dylan,
Uh-huh.
I've got some good news actually for you.
Oh yeah.
So, you might be thinking there's a lot in the story that's like, you don't really understand. I told you there's 50 missions in the game.
Right.
If you beat all of them, there may be a mission 51.
Oh really?
And it's where you go to a brand new area, an island, to get Philanthropist back from Eli.
Okay. Well, at least that solves that problem.
Wait, hang on. I'm getting a codec call. Oh, never mind. That content was completely cut from the game and
What?
scrapped, so it's actually not in the game.
Why?
That's a good question.
Why would you cut that? Because that was something I was wondering. It's like that's another plot hole because that never comes up ever again, and then
Yep.
the game falls unaware.
If you bought the collector's edition on disc 2, you can find or you can watch it on YouTube. There is I watched it on YouTube, but yeah, there was a mission 51. It was like a whole Lord of the Flies thing. It's actually somewhat mentioned in the credits. They
I was
give
gonna
credits
say,
to Lord of the Flies.
yeah.
And I think they even say like in one of the years like Eli starts his Kingdom of the Flies nation,
yeah.
and I think that's what the mission was called, Kingdom of the Flies, if I remember right. And yeah, you can watch it online, and it's like 30% finished. The cutscenes are, and like none of the gameplay is except for like a tiny bit. So it's just like a lot of concept art, and it's like here's what we wanted to do, and it's like some of the scenes are fully voice acted. Like there is, I won't spoil how it ends. There is some story stuff there. We should go back and watch it. But I will just say, it doesn't fucking fill in any gaps at all. Hang on, our recording stopped again. Just listen while there's a black screen. All right,
So-
sorry about that, everybody.
So I just can't think of a good reason why they possibly scrapped it. Then that makes no sense.
I can think of a good reason, and this is what most people are thinking. It's not confirmed; it's just speculation. Konami didn't want to pay for it. They wanted this game to come out. Kojima kept saying, "No, I want it to be bigger. I want to keep doing more. I want to do more. I want to do more." And they were like, "Nah, just fucking release it." And they just
That's what I'm thinking. I keep wanting to hold out and think that this game, story-wise, failure stuff, was not because Kojima's vision fell too short. I think it was because I mean, sure, it sounds like the Kojima thing's kind of recent because this game's been developing for years. But I mean, you have to realize that probably, sure, we're just now hearing about it. That probably was an issue the entire time during the game release.
I guess, but I don't know. I feel like surely there's always been some kind of. I mean, you know, Kojima's had some serious freedom in the game industry, but certainly there's always been like deadlines that he's met. I think that he's always been able to work in a certain window.
Yeah.
And I just think that he didn't deliver on the story, to be honest.
That's true.
And controversial opinion, because I saw a lot of people saying that this game did not have as good a story as the previous game, Peace Walker. I think Peace Walker doesn't have a great story either. I actually think this game's story is better than Peace Walker's.
Yeah, Peace Walker did
Because
pretty much.
as much as I didn't really care about this, there were scenes that still stuck out. I mean, at least the trailers were cool,
Yeah.
and the scenes that are featured in the trailers that are in the game are pretty cool. There's some good action scenes. They're well directed. I'll say that they're very well directed. And they look great. Peace Walker, nothing really stood out. I don't care about Amanda or Cecile or her Quetzal call. I don't care about Paz. Sorry, everybody. I don't give a shit about Paz. I don't really care about Chico. I just the one thing I do think Peace Walker did really well is made Big Boss really charismatic and made it seem like he could start a nation.
Yeah.
I totally bought that people would follow this guy into battle. Kiefer, you fucking didn't deliver that. Maybe it was just the dialogue. I don't think Kiefer, and I know you could say, well, that's actually Phantom Boss. Okay, sure, but Kiefer voices both bosses, so
Yeah.
it's not actually Phantom Boss. It's both. And it's his personality, regardless. Or not, I guess it's his memories. I don't fucking understand how it works.
Yeah.
But the point I'm trying to make is Kiefer is a great actor. He's got a good voice. He does not deliver as Snake or as boss.
Which doesn't really say much in the whole game either, really.
Yeah, he doesn't say much, and so that could be a dialogue thing. But man, Hater would have fucking delivered. Like, I hate to say that, like, Kojima fucked up on that, but he fucked up. Like, I kept expecting the twist of, like, Solid Snake's going to be in the game and he'll be voiced by David Hayter, and you meet, but it didn't
Well,
fucking happen.
if you wanted to have Keith there in the game so much, you introduce new characters. Make him one of the new characters.
Yeah, make him Skullface.
Yeah, that's what I was just
That would have been cool.
Make him
Kiefer would have
Skullface.
been an awesome villain. I just don't understand why David Hayter was cut from the final story. He's done, such a great job with Snake over the years. I mean, I really cared about Snake's character in all the games. Like in 3 with Big Boss, like the ending, fuck, and like the ending with 4 where the Hayter's getting like real gravelly for that old man voice when Snake like goes to kill himself. It's fucking awesome. No moment did I feel like, man, I'm really like into this character. And especially now that I know it's not Big Boss, I really don't give a shit.
Yeah, it just really made this game feel pretty isolated on the most part.
Yeah.
'Cause it's not, David Hayter's not in it. It's not even really Big Boss. It's a character you're just introduced to in this game and just now made aware
Yeah,
of.
and none of the
And
characters
the
that you
reveal-
are familiar with
Yeah.
really, like, again, Ocelot's in the game, and I love the character of Ocelot.
Me too, yeah.
But he's so, who gives a shit about Ocelot in this game? I love Troy Baker. He's a great voice actor. I think
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was a good casting choice. But Ocelot's role in this game is so, like, fucking weird.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't...
And here's the thing. They keep making you seem like Kaz is going to turn and do something, but he never does. They keep
Yeah,
making
there's
you
this
feel
whole
like
thing
he's
about, like,
suspicious.
one of us is going to have to kill each other someday. But Liquid killed Kaz, so that went nowhere. Kaz, like, retired. I think he trained Solid Snake.
Yeah.
I guess. And maybe that was to spite Big Boss. Maybe that's what they're meaning is, like, Kaz went on to train Solid Snake so that he would go and kill Big Boss. Maybe that's what they're getting at.
Yeah.
Because Snake did do that after receiving training from Master Miller. So I guess that's what they're getting at. But, like, again, we don't ever fucking see that, so who gives a shit?
And Ocelot has this sort of thing as if like there's everything go with the flow and let's think things happen. Like he has this self-awareness of something, which you find out he knows about the whole Big Boss thing.
Yeah.
Except that he said he fucking hypnosed himself so he wouldn't know that.
Yeah.
So then why would he ever act like that? There's just this whole like there's something going on here but nothing. Like even Hal's just like I'm not the one that betrayed you. Kaz betrayed you. So now they're trying to make you seem like Kaz is under something, but that has no payoff either.
Yeah.
Like, they do nothing with that.
Okay, sorry guys, we had a quick camera issue there. What we were talking about, Kaz.
I think
something?
you said how you're gonna say about how.
Right. So, there was almost a really great scene in this game, which is I guess there's almost a lot of great scenes. This is okay. Let's forget about the Phantom thing for a minute. Let's just drop that for a second, which is just a twist for the sake of having a twist. But anyways. This is meant to show Big Boss going and becoming a villain. So, in this game, it's supposed to be really dark. Kojima kept saying it's going to be really dark. We see child soldiers in all the trailers. We see tons of dead bodies. We see fucking ashes getting rubbed on your face. It looks fucking awesome.
Yeah.
And I kept waiting for the moment where Big Boss did something that was like, holy shit, that's a villain thing. They lead up to it so well because the whole point of Big Boss was he was a great hero, like the hero of the world after the boss herself. He was the next in line. And so his descent should have been like slow. It shouldn't have just been like, I'm gonna be fucking evil. We needed to have like kind of ultimatums given to him. Like he didn't want to have to do this hard thing, but he did it. Like there's a scene early on when he has to kill a bunch of child soldiers, and he just fakes the recording, which is fine. But imagine if that character had killed children then because he thought he had to. Not because he wanted to or was evil, but he felt like he had to. He was forced into that situation.
Yeah.
That would be a good explanation of why he started to become a villain. I mean, that's the whole point of Snake Eater. He was forced into this situation of having to kill the boss, and he didn't want to. That's the whole fucking point of why Big Boss started to become a villain in the first place. So, it would make sense if more stuff like that happens, and it just becomes easier and easier for him. He finds out pretty much without a doubt, Huey is the one that fucked them all over, screwed everything up at Outer Heaven, at the last Mother Base, had it fucking destroyed, had like all of his army killed except for the wandering soldiers. Remember them from 9 years ago?
Yeah.
They were off site during the incident.
Bring them home.
He, and now Huey, he killed Dr. Strangelove, which I don't know, maybe they didn't kill
I don't think
her.
he killed according to...
Well, okay, but he was weird about it.
Yeah.
He put his son in a fucking Metal Gear. He did all this
Yeah.
fucking shady shit. He started this new disease and killed a bunch more people, which was like a really controversial thing for Big Boss. That's actually one of the best scenes in the game. That whole chapter where, the second chapter with the infection, where you go in and you're taking everybody out.
That's awesome.
That's fucking really well done. We needed more stuff like that. Aside from the fact that they're kind of zombies, and why the fuck are there zombies in a Metal Gear game? But I'll let that one slide because it's a good chapter. Probably the best individual story chapter in the game.
Oh, yeah. That was awesome. Because, I mean, when you feel like he's going to be fucked up, because he's having to kill his own soldiers.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's like these moments where Big Boss doesn't want to have to do these bad guy things, but he keeps having to kill people. And slowly he just becomes, he starts seeing the world in a twisted way. That's how a good villain is made.
Yeah.
And he finds out Huey's responsible for all of that. And here he is. His army is screaming, kill him, kill him, kill him. Now we're going to finally see Big Boss become a villain. He's going to kill one of his old friends right in front of everybody in cold blood. No, he's not. He's going to set him on a life raft.
Yep.
Cool.
And does anything ever happen to that? That's just it, right?
Nope. That's it. And we don't even get a little credit scroll that says Huey made it to shore and went and drowned in the pool or whatever. Which I don't know if that was actually the stepdad or the drowned in the pool that's mentioned in 2. I don't know if that's him or not, or if it was somebody else. But the point is, that went fucking nowhere. What a great opportunity to have an incredible scene that was, emotionally moving and, showed this villain thing. What a great way to fuck it up.
That's what I was expecting from Chapter 2 was, okay, Big Boss took down the thing. He's the hero now. Now 2 is his descent into madness.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really happen that way.
Yeah.
You don't really get that.
Yeah, I never really left the game feeling oh man, now Big Boss, look out world, because Big Boss is coming. Good thing Solid Snake stops it. Now I feel Snake shouldn't have killed him. He was kind of a good guy. It's I don't want to feel like that of this game.
Even having that whole thing where he sees a cassette tape and the mission thing he's supposed to do, that smiley that he gets and his face is all red and has the big horn, punches the mirror.
Yeah.
Why does he have the big it make it seem oh yeah, I know what I'm supposed to do now. I'm gonna become a villain kind of thing. It's it's out of left field. That's out of nowhere.
Yeah. The whole game has been a good guy being I didn't kill these child soldiers. I've been helping everybody.
Yep.
I've been extracting all these people. I sent Huey away. Oh wait, I'm a phantom. Time to fuck up the world.
Yeah.
What? No, it's not.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. And people pointed out online at the end of 4 when Big Boss turns out he's alive. Maybe that's the third Phantom or something. Because how did he survive the second Metal Gear game? We got to have that explained too. But anyways, he's filled with so much regret when he talks to Snake. He realizes that the feud between him and Zero has torn the world asunder, and he is so filled with sorrow for it. But according to Ground Zeroes and Phantom Pain, he had nothing to do with any of that. Yeah. So why would he care? Why would he feel sad about that?
It made him.
It wasn't his fault at all.
I'm leaving. It didn't be I don't know. The thing I got from it too, almost when he left, is sure he said, "I'm gonna go build some nation, whatever." It just literally seemed fuck it, I'm done with this bullshit. I'm just gonna go hide off somewhere. It was cool. Yeah. That's the Big Boss legacy. He does all these things trying to get revenge, or whatever. And just when you see that reveal, it just seems I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna go do something else.
People have compared this a little bit to Metal Gear Solid 2, where you were supposed to play as Snake the whole game, and then you play as Raiden, because this game has a similar twist where you thought you were playing as a character, and then it turns out you're not. But it's way shittier. I understand at the time why people were kind of upset about the Raiden thing. I kind of like it. I think Raiden becomes a fleshed out character.
Yep.
And who doesn't like Raiden in 4? But in 2, sure, he's kind of a wimp compared to this badass Snake. I get why there was some controversy, but I think people kind of came around. A lot of people really look back on 2 with a lot of fondness. But this game, it's not excusable. In 2, there's reason. Metal Gear Solid 2, there's reasons that make sense why you would have played as Raiden and why he's an integral character to the story. With this, it's just kind of oh, I guess I'm not Big Boss. That's kind of dumb.
It really was completely unnecessary. It didn't reveal or tie anything together at all.
Yeah, with the thing with Raiden is there was the S3 plan. They called it the Solid Snake simulation, but it was actually the selection for societal sanity. Is that right? Let me know if that's right. But you know, there was all this stuff that like, oh, this is why this character is in the story because of everything going on with the Patriots and this testing that they're doing and the connection with Solidus. It all really tied in and was like, I understand why all of these parts have been put here. Despite how fucking of a mindfuck the ending of 2 is, it makes parts, you know, the parts that need to make sense in that game do make sense.
Yeah.
I personally think. I know people might disagree with that, but nothing makes sense in 5. I don't feel like I have a complete story. Somebody said it almost feels like this was just like not meant to fill the gap between. This was almost like the first start of what's supposed to fill the gap. Like we're supposed to have like a Metal Gear Solid. It almost feels like we need a Metal Gear 6 just to really show all the stuff because this really only takes place in 1984. Which, to be fair, that's the year they said in the trailer. But I and a lot of other people were kind of expecting it to go into the 90s, go into Operation Intrude, N313, and not just show a cassette tape of it, but kind of show it off a little bit.
Yeah.
Explain Snake, explain Liquid. Their explanation for Liquid in this game is like so shitty. Mm-hmm. And I also understand that this is a prequel, so the characters themselves wouldn't know things. Like they wouldn't just necessarily know, oh, that's Liquid, that's Psycho Mantis, but the audience does. You know, Kojima and everybody else who wrote the game. They understand that the audience already knows these things, so
right.
Please don't treat me like I'm fucking retarded and try to act like these characters are not Psycho Mantis, Vulcan, and Liquid, because they are. They're very fucking clearly those characters. And the whole game is like, well, he didn't pass the DNA test, so he can't be your son.
Yeah.
He's a fucking blonde British kid who calls Big Boss Dad.
Right.
He wears a fucking jacket with no shirt on. Gee, where have I seen that before? Can't be Liquid though.
Yeah.
And Psycho Mantis, come on.
It's definitely
come on. You're acting. This is the third child. It's
third child of what? 2? I don't know. Did they ever explain that?
Well, I think I don't think it's actually third child. That's Evangelion. But I think it's something like that.
Is it not I thought it was literally the third child.
Is it just third child?
I think it is the third child.
Okay, well they ripped that off of Evangelion too. This is just a conspiracy cast. We're finding out all the stuff that Metal Gear stole from Evangelion. But so I guess they wanted to show that like Psycho Mantis and Liquid have this connection, which is supposed to explain why they're together in 1. But they didn't seem to have any great camaraderie in 1.
That's what I thought was really weird. It's like this would be kind of cool if they seemed really, really close. But it almost seemed like Psycho Mantis was a relenting villain in when he was with Liquid, you know, and Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, and I mean I know that Liquid was the commander of that unit, so I guess that explains how they met. But like that doesn't make sense. And also, Psycho Mantis he had psychokinetic powers. He could control people's minds, he could read their minds, and he could like puppet people. That's about it. He could read your memory card and make your controller rumble. That's about it. He couldn't make fire whales come out of the sky.
Yeah.
I kept waiting for an explanation like, oh, you were hallucinating, or that wasn't actually Psycho Mantis, that was somebody else's powers. Nope. Psycho Mantis can just do all that, but why didn't he do that later?
Yeah.
And maybe you could argue, well, he's a kid. Now, at this point, his powers are just running wild. They seem way more powerful. If he could have fucking ate me with Space Whale, why didn't he do that in 1?
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make sense to retroactively add things in that don't follow the canon.
They kind of say something where, like, he leeches onto someone's vengeance, and that's kind of how, like, he doesn't
Right.
control anything, the person he latches onto controlling it.
Which is also dumb, because they say, like, you know, he's not in control. When somebody has an overabundance of vengeance, he just is drawn to them automatically. Yeah. But in Metal Gear Solid 1, Mantis asks for his mask to be put back on before he dies, because when his mask is off, everybody's thoughts come flooding in and he can't stop them. The whole point of the mask is because then he gets to control other people. They don't control him. That's the whole point of his mask. And he's wearing the mask in the whole fucking game.
They even have a cassette tape that says the exact same thing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
So,
I mean, and you could argue, well, he's a kid, so he doesn't have control of his powers. But that's why he has the mask.
Yeah.
That's explained. We already know that. That's a fact. Mantis himself says it. And the thing with Vulcan, hey, I was fucking down for Vulcan to come back. I love 3. Again, it's my favorite story. I was down to have Vulcan back as the man on fire. What a fucking bummer. That goes goddamn nowhere.
It really does.
You brought back one of the most, like horribly evil villains of the series. A character that was very pivotal in Big Boss's life, because Vulcan is kind of responsible for why he had to kill the boss. Talk about vengeance, man. And nothing. Fucking nothing.
Well, I guess I expected all of this stuff, like Vulcan being back and all these things. Because even outside the trailers make it seem like it's just like...
hallucinations.
It's like hallucinations or like Snake's past coming back to haunt him.
Yeah.
But that doesn't really ever become a factor in this game. It's never
No.
really. It's doubly so once you find out it's not even a really big boss.
Yeah.
It's just like none of this really is consequential then.
Also, and this is more of a gameplay complaint. Boss fights, just
Yeah.
not in this game. I
Not
guess.
really
I
boss
mean,
fights.
yeah, I know there's a boss fight with Philanthropist. You could call the fight with Quiet a boss fight, I suppose. Hell, even call the little CQC bullshit with Eli on Mother Base a fight. Sorry, the recording stopped again. I don't know. I think my camera's just getting hot. We're in the Austin heat, and my camera wants to keep stopped recording. But anyways, I was looking forward to fucking boss fights because it's a Metal Gear game, and I don't know if Kojima's heard of the series before, but they have great boss fights usually. And that was the problem I had with Peace Walker. Boring ass, shitty boss fights.
Yeah.
But at least they were against like big ass things that like felt powerful, except for when you fight like a truck. But like they're just not in this game. Man, I thought for sure you get the mission, find the man on fire, sick. Fucking final showdown with Vulcan.
Yeah.
Oh no, just a cutscene, just a little cutscene.
Yep. Because I mean, you kind of get a boss fight with him, but not one where he has a health meter and you're supposed to take him down.
You mean at the beginning?
No, there's another one when you're at the.
Oh right.
But that's not. He
yeah.
doesn't have a health bar. So you're not supposed to defeat him. You're supposed to get away from him.
Yeah, that running away from something isn't a boss fight, Kojima. You know that. I don't know why I have to tell you that. You fucking know that. You make the best boss fight of all time. The fucking end. Holy shit! What a boss fight. You don't run away from him. You fucking hunt him down. He's trying to run away from you. I couldn't believe there weren't boss fights or even characters that really mattered in a boss fight sense. I mean, you had Vulcan, I guess, and the Skulls, I guess. I don't fucking care.
Yeah, the Skulls
about the
was
Skulls.
like a boss fight, but that was still like that wasn't one character. And you fight the Skulls twice too, because they just feel like a unit of. They're an enemy, not a boss.
Yeah. It's like fighting the Spetsnaz unit in Metal Gear Solid 3, except more powerful, obviously. But that, just as an example, they're not an encounter. You don't meet them and they're like, listen to my story of like why I'm a villain. It's like, whoa, this is crazy. They don't fucking shoot bees out and are like, I stung myself with a bunch of bees or whatever. Which, that shit's all goofy. But that's what Metal Gear is. And like this just didn't have that. None of the characters really stand out as much. Even the characters I already know and love don't stand out as much. Sorry, you might hear some noise from outside, guys. There's a dude mowing or something.
I was kind of disappointed too because I heard a bunch of theories that a lot of stuff was Decoy, Octopus, and Mantis working together. And I thought it would be cool. It's like, oh cool, here's Kid Mantis and Kid Decoy. And it also brings together too, like, that's why these people also part of the squad. Because you don't really ever get much with Decoy Octopus, really.
No.
So I was like, oh, this would be a really cool way to, like, here's a character to flesh out too.
Also,
No,
in Metal Gear Solid 1, Sniper Wolf mentions that as a child she was found by Saladin, who she says was Big Boss, and like he kind of took her in. I thought, when I saw Psycho Mantis, I was like, holy shit, this is going to be the origin of the Foxhound.
That's what I was exactly hoping for too. Because I heard the Decoy thing, I was like, guys, like, then I remember hearing her say that, and I was like, cool, we're going to get all these people coming together. Because we already know how Ocelot is with Big Boss. Then we have Psycho Mantis, and it's just, I don't know, just...
Also, another thing with Ocelot, sorry, I'm sure you guys can hear that noise, I'm sorry about that. Another thing with Ocelot, I was really expecting to learn how Ocelot would later come to work with Liquid.
Yeah.
But we don't learn that. I mean, Ocelot and Liquid don't have any kind of plans of working together in the future. And yes, you could argue, well, Ocelot was really just working with Liquid to, he wasn't actually working with Liquid, he was double-crossing him. Yes, I understand that. But from Liquid's perspective, Ocelot was absolutely working under him. And this punk-ass kid that Ocelot is, like, interrogating would not have been... I find it hard to believe that this shitty little kid, this 12-year-old, in 20 years is going to say, oh, Ocelot, I remember you. You interrogated me, and I hated the fuck out of you. Come work for me.
Exactly.
I know a lot happens in 20 years, so maybe it could happen. That would maybe they could have had a cutscene that would explain that. That's a good idea. That would have been cool to see.
Yeah. They could have, like, because he definitely kind of give you a hint of being like, Ocelot's going to take one kid, kind of, and
yeah,
I
think the after credits conversation with Miller and Ocelot is kind of meant to insinuate that, but insinuating something I kind of already understand and actually showing me how it really happens.
And Miller taking Solid makes sense because Solid doesn't know cause, doesn't know any of that stuff, but Ocelot taking up Liquid, like you just said, that doesn't make any sense. Why would Liquid also be like, oh yeah, sure, okay.
Yeah, is Ocelot going to come to him and be like, you know what? You were right. We should start an uprising, and let's fucking do it. None of it fucking makes sense. not. Oh God, I'm so like frustrated with this story because I want it to be so good.
It could have been so good.
It could have been fucking great. I mean, it was supposed to be. It's the last Metal Gear story. It's filling the gaps. It's everything that we didn't understand between old Big Boss and future Big Boss. Like, it's finally going to be filled in.
Yeah.
And none of it is. If anything, I think everybody just has way more questions
Yeah, I
and way
think
more
everyone has
confusion.
way more questions. Yeah.
And, you know, it's one thing for something to be kind of open and worth discussion. Worth discussion. But they didn't really do that. You know, if the ending was kind of open so that people could kind of fill in the gaps for themselves, that would be one thing. But this doesn't feel like
No.
they gave me the pieces, now I can put together the puzzle kind of ending. An ending like that doesn't bother me.
No, we have to
If I felt like I had, yeah.
And there's hints and like bread trails like all throughout. You got to put together, but there's none of that. There's no.
Yeah,
bread
this
trails
doesn't.
around
If
the
anything, it's just everything. All the facts in this game, if anything, just like don't add up. Like, I'm trying to fill the gaps in my head. I'm trying to say, okay, so this is how Ocelot got from here to here. Wait, that doesn't make sense. He couldn't have got. So they tried to make it kind of open so that you could fill in the blanks, but then they made all of the evidence like contradict itself. So you can't fill in the blanks logically. You just have to be like, well, I guess they must have later went and done that.
Yeah, it kind of makes me bummed that Kojima said he no longer wants to do anything Metal Gear anymore because I kind of would like at least one more something to explain everything.
I know some people out there have talked about maybe that episode 51 will be released as DLC. First of all, again, I don't want to spoil the ending because you haven't seen it yet. Not that, again, it's not going to, like, obviously it's not going to fill in everything. But, like, that's not going to be released as DLC because it's not unreleased content, it was cut content.
Yeah.
It was, you know, they were working on it and they said, no, we're not going to make this. That's not going to be DLC. So if you're thinking, I hope that's DLC, fucking give up the ghost on that because that's not going to happen. I don't know, anything else to complain about with the story of Ground Zeroes? Any positives?
Yeah.
Good stuff in the story?
I still enjoy playing the game.
Oh, no, the gameplay's great.
I'll keep playing the game.
I mean, there's a reason everybody's fucking obsessed with playing the game. But in terms of story, like, was there anything that, like, you thought, oh, that's kind of how I would have wanted that to happen?
No.
Yeah, everything that I was looking forward to didn't really work out. Again, that one mission, I can't remember what, it's in the 40s, where you have to go kill all your troops in that one ward. That's a great mission.
Because I just think the problem is I think this game wanted to do a lot open world and have so many more features to do things. But at the same time, that almost gave it hindrance because you couldn't really have a cutscene make your character go one way, you know? Because you can't really have, all right, Big Boss is a villain now, and then you go on a mission and you still don't kill anybody.
Right,
you know?
and that's part of the problem too. I was going to bring this up actually. There's a system in the game where, the heroism system, where the more good stuff you do, the more heroism you get, or heroism, however you want to fucking pronounce it, and the more evil you are, the more people you kill and whatever, your horn gets bigger and bigger. Hey, this ain't Fable. This is fucking Metal Gear. This isn't a choose your own adventure. This is, we know Big Boss becomes a villain, let's watch him become a villain.
Exactly.
This isn't a, I'm going to pick what happens.
Right.
We already know the outcome.
And I think that's
so
really hindered
giving
it.
the player the choice of playing evil or good style, this isn't one of those games. And I will say, it's not one of the games where they're like really, you know, overt with it, where they're like, which choice do you want, A or B? It's not that obvious. I don't think a lot of people even knew. I didn't know until you told me about the horn thing. If you do more evil stuff. But the fact that it's even in there is like, why would you put that in a game that isn't about making moral choices? The moral choices have been made because we know the future of this character. And maybe that was the reason he made this Phantom, was so then if you were really evil as a player or if you were really good as a player, it didn't really matter to the actual Big Boss character.
Well,
but if so, that's just fucking lazy.
Because I even still feel like sometimes the Phantom was like an excuse to introduce you to the avatar system. Like, here, make your own avatar. This is what your character looks like, but now he's boss. And it's just like, that's stupid.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because, like, I don't know. Throwing the avatar system in the middle of the story was really dumb.
I will say one thing. I was deeply ashamed of myself.
I was too.
When I learned about Quiet. I can't believe, you know, I was on the same page. Everybody on the internet was like, what a sexist character. And Kojima himself said, you'll be deeply ashamed. You know what? Kojima, you were right. Because what a great reason for her to, she breathed through her skin.
I am deeply ashamed that I was hoping it was going to be something more than that.
Some of you may not watch our stuff. That's called sarcasm. Fuck Kojima, what the fuck, dude? What the fuck, man?
You had so many opportunities to make it something, and it was that.
I mean, it would have been one thing to say, like, on Twitter or whatever, and say, like, hey, I know that she's kind of a villain character, but that is kind of part of her character. But to say people will be deeply ashamed,
Yeah.
her excuse for being naked is she breathes through her skin through a bullshit thing that you made up about a parasite language and she caught on fire, and now she's a plant because she eats through photosynthesis. Kojima, what the fuck?
You could have done anything.
Hey, to be fair, everything in the Metal Gear Solid series is like crazy. I think to try to apply logic to a character in a Metal Gear game is kind of dumb because, again, in Metal Gear Solid 3, you had a guy who spits bees out of his mouth. You had a guy who could dislocate his shoulders and climb backwards up a tree. There's not a lot of logic to stuff in the series, to be fair. So, to say that there's not logic to the character Quiet, that's fine. I don't care that there's not logic. The issue was that he specifically said that it was very important and, like, emotional and, like, you would feel bad for talking shit on this character. If he would have said that about the pain, and then I saw him shoot a bee out of his mouth, I would have had the same reaction of like, Kojima, are you fucking crazy?
Yeah. It's just totally obvious. It was an after the fact comment. He made that character I was, and just like, well, everybody's getting pissed off about it, so I'm just going to say this.
Yeah, and
kind of.
To be fair, I'm not one of the people that was going on Twitter and being like, oh man, Kojima made a sexist character.
Yeah.
I've played all the Metal Gear games. There's been a lot of sexist. I mean, in Metal Gear Solid 4, he hired 4 models because he thought they were hot.
Yep.
That's why he hired them. He didn't have great ideas for the villain characters and then said these characters should be female because that's better for the story. He wanted to bang some models and he hired them to be sexy in his game.
Yeah.
The fact that people are criticizing Kojima for this and have never done it before is like, come on. I mean, he's been, since Metal Gear Solid 1, when you can do the Easter egg where you can see Meryl in her underwear twice in the game in 2 different scenes. It's always been there. Sniper Wolf has her fucking cleavage out. Like,
Big Boss has her cleavage out.
Who?
Not Big Boss, sorry.
The boss. Oh, yeah, when you fight her at the end.
Yeah.
I was going to say, man, you must have watched a different cutscene than I did. But, it's always been there. If you're going to play a Metal Gear game, you don't have to be happy about it. You don't have to agree with it. But yeah, I think people who are like criticizing it on this game and have never said anything before, it's like, I mean, you were okay with it in all the other games, but now you have an issue.
Yeah.
But still, that's not an excuse. It's still like shitty and like, if he would have just said, hey, I understand I did that with a character. I don't know. I do that all the time. I'm dumb.
Yeah.
Like if he would have said that, it wouldn't have been great. It would have been a half-assed apology, but at least it would have like added up and it would have made sense with Kojima as a person. But for him to like defend it and say like this is so important, I mean it'd be like after all the like close-up butt shots of the models in 4, or the scenes where you can go to the photo room and take sexy pictures of them. If Kojima was like, well, you can't accuse me of that because there's a really good reason for when you play the J-pop song on your iPod and they dance. There's a really good reason for that.
Yep.
If he would have said that, I would have been like, fuck you, dude.
Yep.
But he didn't.
No.
It was the fact that on this particular game he chose to come out and say that. That's the issue to me. It's not that the character is sexist, which it is. But that's par for the course for Kojima. It's one of those things you just kind of have to go with if you're going to play these games. You don't have to agree with it, but it's in these games. It's always been in these games. But like,
and at least he still made her a pretty badass female.
There's still some cool scenes with her. Her final scene where she's like stabbing dudes in the dick is fucking dope. It's great. It's a great action sequence. But then it's kind of ruined by the scene where she kicks Rain at Big Boss and they're kicking Rain and they're giggling.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I will say, speaking on the ending of her stabbing dudes in the dick, there's one part of the ending that kind of I did not get. Like it kind of irked me. Was on the radio when you go in there. Kotaker's there. He's talking with Big Boss and all them. And it usually typically seems like the radio's kind of an open frequency type thing.
Right.
When they're talking.
So when she calls
when she calls him and she's talking Navajo, why wouldn't Kotak?
Yeah, or if he wasn't, why didn't she call and say like, his name or whatever? Because, a name you can say in any language.
Yeah.
Like his name was like Dine or something, Old Dine or whatever.
Yeah.
Just say Old Dine, and they're gonna put him on the fucking phone.
Yeah.
Like whatever.
There's so many more options to get. Like her leaving was cool. Like that.
Yeah.
It's cool to have that kind of ending. I just think it could have. The way they did it was again another like kind of half-assed way.
Yeah. Well, not only that, and I think her having to finally speak was cool.
Yeah.
But their excuse for her having to speak was Big Boss got bit by a snake.
Yes.
What if he got fucking blown up by a soldier and he's bleeding?
Yeah.
Something cool. He got bit by a fucking snake. Big Boss was eating snakes 20 years ago, fucking tearing through their flesh. Come on, he got bit by a snake. that's the climax of the quiet story, a fucking shitty little snake.
Like, what if that soldier had seen them, and they shoot at him, and he blocks the bullets with his body or whatever?
Yeah, he's like all fucking blown out
and
to
then
his
like,
chest.
they just leave him, and then she wakes up and sees that. Sure, that would have been way more excusable, but
yeah.
that one doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I mean, it might as well have had like a fucking like shitty styrofoam rock fall on Big Boss's head.
Yeah, pretty much the same thing.
Or like they need more ammo to fight the people, so they call a supply drop and it lands on Big Boss's head.
Yeah.
And so she has to talk. There's something we haven't mentioned. Another character, surprise, back in the game. Pause.
Yeah.
She's back. Turns out everybody remembered it wrong, but not really.
Twice. You remembered wrong twice. Because you remembered it that in Ground Zeroes. Oh wait, you did find that other bomb. But then you remember. Oh wait a minute, I'm not actually Big Boss. I'm this other guy.
Right.
And that
Well,
guy
you
was
didn't. You didn't. But then you remember that you didn't actually find the bomb, and Paz was never alive.
Oh right, yeah.
Which doesn't make sense because
What?
What?
No, that's what I'm saying. Like
Okay.
the whole thing doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense because if Paz was never really there, and that was one of the illusions he was seeing, I get it. It's trying to say like he's racked with guilt. But for one thing, when it shows you the cutscene, it's through Big Boss's perspective, not the medic's perspective. That doesn't add up. But I guess it wasn't actually a true cutscene. And technically, he did have the memories of Big Boss, so I guess it makes sense. Sure, but that aside, if it was just Phantom Boss or Big Boss, whatever you want to call him, walking into a room and seeing Paz, and then it turned out she wasn't real, I would buy that. The issue was when the first time you walk into the room, and several times when you walk into the room, other characters are there.
Mm-hmm.
When the first time you walk in, Kaz and Ocelot are both there, and they're like explaining this to you. Did you just imagine that they were in that room?
Yeah.
Or did they think that they saw Paz too, and they thought they remembered it wrong too? Or was this all just a dream you had? Like, you can't put other characters that are still in existence into a non-dream
Yeah.
sequence and expect it to hold up in that way.
Yeah, that whole thing. It's so irrelevant to anything that happens in that game.
That too, yeah.
Why is it there?
Yeah, I understand Kojima. Maybe you just wanted to have this model in her underwear again, and you just like Tara Strong's voice or something. But yeah, why is this
But
here?
you killed Chico and that was it. We never had anything else for Chico. You could have just killed Paz.
I never understood, but he always wanted Paz to be like an important character.
Yeah.
I don't understand why. But also, where does the dream end? Because for every Paz cutscene to trigger, you have to find a photograph from a wandering Mother Base soldier, and you go on a mission where Kaz leads you. Did you imagine that too, or were the missions real and the photos not real, or were the photos real but the cutscenes weren't real? Where does the truth?
Because now I feel like
end?
the photos were just being like, oh, that's just Big Boss now, adding to like the vision shit you see.
Maybe.
Because no one else mentions the photos, except Big Boss getting the photos, and Paz seeing the photos.
Right.
But the whole reason.
Sorry about that noise.
The whole reason you're showing the photos is because Kaz says maybe if you show her something, it'll spark her memory.
Right.
So now you get I don't know.
Yeah, I just don't. I
I
just
don't know what that
don't get it. I don't get it. Speaking of Chico, everybody was wrong. Chico's not quiet.
No,
Maybe do you think Chico maybe should have been quiet?
I think Chico should have been quiet.
Maybe because at least
I
there
was
would have been
kinda
a
hoping for
reason.
that.
Because I kept waiting. That Quiet was another character that I kept waiting for. Like, who is this character? Because they kept making it like she's mysterious, But then you don't give us any answers.
I was kind of sure that would make the romance with that thing a lot weirder, but that didn't need to be in the first place.
Yeah.
But also, I was kind of almost slightly excited for it because so many people were shitting on Quiet and being like over sexualized and all stuff like that. And Kojima said that what he said, like, you'll be ashamed of this. So I kept being like, it would be kind of cool if he did have some cool thing like, here's a really big important transgender character, and like that would justify that.
If it would have been done well,
It
that
would've
would have
justified it.
that would have made sense.
But it did happen, so then just
Yeah.
this is what it is.
Also, speaking of characters that were shrouded in mystery that we wanted to know more about, we covered this character a bit, but a big part of Skullface was that he's always been in Big Boss's shadow, and he's been like cleaning up his messes.
Yeah.
What does that mean? He says like back in Operation Snake Eater, I was there too. Hey, I played that game like 20 times, man. You're not in it. And I guess the thing is, like, supposedly he goes in afterwards and cleans up the mess. What mess? Like the literal mess? Like all the rockets and stuff you left laying around? Or like, I mean, everything seemed to have...
I think he was trying to indicate that he retrieves the bodies or whatever. Like he not even retrieves this, so just wipes it so that none of this information leaks out anywhere else.
Oh,
Because
okay. So he just covers it
he
up.
just covers it up. He's the cover-up guy.
Okay, but that's not a great villain.
No.
So I don't know. I mean, it's cool to have that character in there. Like maybe if like you found out that you added him on your support team, he's like, hey, I've always been in your shadow. But why is he a villain? Is that his motivation? And also, what did we ever find out why he had a fucking skull face?
Oh yeah, it said he was burned when he was younger.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
Okay, I guess I missed that.
When he was like taken by the kids, whatever, like they took away, like, because he said something, they took away my face, they took away my language, they took away like all this stuff.
All right, I've seen people that have been burned, and they don't
That's
look. You know,
Metal Gear,
when you're.
like,
All right. I guess. I don't know. Why does he wear the thing?
I was wondering that the entire time.
Okay, that's a costume thing. We don't need to argue that. You know that whatever. But I don't know. Anything else we want to talk shit on in the story?
No.
I'm sorry.
I really wasn't expecting this to be a talk shit on.
I was. I was ready for it. Again, we don't hate this game.
No.
Somebody earlier, I mentioned somebody said this is the best Metal Gear gameplay. Part 2 of that comment was that too bad it was the worst story.
Yeah.
I don't think it was the worst story because I hate the Peace Walker story quite a bit. I saw some people talking and saying like this is worse than Peace Walker story. I think you're looking at that with rose-tinted glasses. That story's not great. It's kind of, I mean, the final battle of that is against Paz, who's surprised she's a villain, I guess, in your Metal Gear, and a J-pop song plays. That's the climactic fight.
Yeah.
Hey, remember in fucking 3 when the fight is with snakier music and it's like, holy shit,
Yeah.
this is all coming to a head. This is fucking incredible. And the music's cheesy, but like it works. The J-pop music doesn't work, and that's the climax of that game. All Peace Walker is you have to kill the boss again. It's ripping on how good 3 was. It's just like, remember that character, the boss? Man, killing her was brutal, huh? Do it again.
Yeah.
That's not a good story. Do the thing you already did, but a weaker version because now it's just an AI. With the emotional scene where you're taking apart the AI, I don't give a shit. This isn't a person. It's a fucking dumb computer. I already killed the person. That was the emotional thing. And then they have you shoot the horse too, and it's like, remember when you did this? Peace Walker is not a good story.
That's what I think just makes me mad is these set up Big Boss to be such a cool, badass person in 3 that any subsequent thing they've done afterwards to go into that has just made him not seem like that.
Yeah.
I don't ever feel the pain he's supposed to have felt for having to kill the boss. The only time I ever feel that or see that is in the ending of 3.
I would actually say that and the ending of 4 when he's back.
Yes, yeah.
That might be. Though I love 3, everything about 3. My favorite scene with Big Boss might be the end of 4, where it's him and Snake having that just one-on-one conversation, and Big Boss is just going on about all these mistakes he's made and how he realizes that he did it all wrong. What a great final scene for a character.
It just gives you so many opportunities because of that relationship you have built up between them.
Yeah.
To make him have to do painful things that just reminds him and calls him back to that. Defeating an AI robot and like all the other things you did doesn't really do that.
Yeah,
Especially
having your Phantom, which maybe he feels bad about that, but that wasn't his idea. It wasn't his plan, and he wasn't responsible for the things his Phantom did. Or maybe you could argue he was.
Because to me, him riding off on the motorcycle to do something else just made me like, did you forget about the dream of trying to get vengeance for the boss? Because that just seemed like such a bitch. I'm gonna go start my nation. I was like, yeah, but the nation went nowhere.
Yeah, really, and you know, Metal Gear 2, there's a story in there, sure, but it's an MSX game. The story of that game isn't like fucking incredible. It's not like you're gonna now if you go back and play Metal Gear 2, it's all gonna that game's just gonna you're gonna really feel it. No, it's still a game with like just kind of.
I'm cool if you just like those have small tie-in story elements to them, but don't make this try and like explain something. Like that. I was hoping there was going to be some reveal that if Big Boss really did go off to do something else, it was going to have some big reveal payoff behind the scenes between Zero and him that we didn't see in the other games. So sort of explanation of like that's what he did, but there isn't that. And then even on the Phantom Pain thing, like you said, that wasn't his idea. The Phantom Boss.
Yeah.
Which makes no sense to me when got me double confused when he's talking to Ocelot. So then immediately he's talking to Ocelot in those tapes and telling him about him being in a hospital. My first thought was, oh, cool. Ocelot's going to help him out. He's so loyal to the boss and knows that Zero knows where he's at. That Ocelot's going to scheme the plan of switching the bodies. So then Zero won't actually know where he's at. Like, it'll be under Zero's nose. But then Zero says, I have something set up too, the body switching. The whole point of the body switching was to hide him from Zero. So why did they do the body switching thing?
Well, I don't know if the point was to hide him from Zero,
Well, that's
or
what they
just to
say.
hide him from the world.
Yeah.
I don't
That's
know.
one of the things they say is so you can't, like, one of the things also tells them is like, and one of the things is like, oh, so now people won't know where you're at, like Zero can't track yourself yet.
Okay.
But then it's set up that Zero did that, so now I don't get it.
Yeah.
Why did Zero do that? What's the
I understand why Zero wanted to keep Big Boss alive. That was kind of explained
Yeah.
in 4. Like, he needed Big Boss. They even say it in this. They needed Big Boss. Battery's about to die, so we're going to wrap this up. They needed Big Boss as an icon. That's why Zero kept him alive. I think we've complained enough. Again, gameplay fucking awesome. So much fun playing this game, but just such a lackluster story. Anything else to wrap up this discussion?
Nope.
We are the Wet Rats. You can follow us here on YouTube. You can subscribe. If you like this, we could do more stuff like this. We're definitely we like doing these kind of discussion videos. We'd like to do more stuff like this. So if you like stuff like this, let us know. What did you guys think of the story? Did you like it? Were you disappointed? Do you want to tell us all the things that we fucked up on factually? You can comment below, or you can email us at thewetrats.com. Or actually, you can't, because that's a website. You can email us at thewetrats@gmail.com, and you can visit us at thewetrats.com. And that's it. Thanks for watching. And what's the final line of Microsoft 5? I was going to quote it to end this video, but I can't remember it, so now I just looked down.
I don't even remember.
Thanks for watching, Mr. President. That's how 3
Yeah, that's how
and
three
number 1 ends as well. Actually, I think 3 isn't president, but 1 is. All right. Goodbye.
Bye.